Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I'm here to add some fire to the great debate of the health of purebred dogs versus mutts and various other characteristics that they clash on. So, I've actually found a study where they tested the presence of certain diseases or conditions in mutts versus purebred, and I'm going to go through that at the end. In general, though, mutts, which are mixed breed dogs, tend to live longer than purebred dogs because they have less inherited diseases. So, for example, if you have a German Shepherd and a German Shepherd and you breed them, you get a purebred German Shepherd. German Shepherds are known for their hip dysplasia, so if you have two German Shepherds, the risk of hip dysplasia is higher in a purebred German Shepherd than it would be in a mixed German Shepherd and Golden Retriever. Golden Retriever has a whole other whack of issues, but just for that one, the risk would be lower. So for examples of conditions that are lower in mutts, these are not based on a study, these are just based on vets gathering data. Knee problems, spine issues, heart issues, cancer, skin disorders, blood disorders, liver and kidney problems, and neurological or brain problems. Now, purebred dogs, because they're typically brought into the family at an age much younger than mutts, they typically have less behavioral issues just because you have them for the time when their socialization period is peaking. So you have a chance to turn them into a dog that's not afraid, that's not anxious, that's well adjusted and does well around people and dogs. And most people can do that. Some people don't know how to do that and they end up with purebred dogs that hate all people or hate all dogs. But again, that's sometimes trauma related from where you got them from or something like that. Mutts tend to spend more time in the shelter just because a lot of people want purebred dogs or they're mixed and people think they look like an aggressive breed. So mixed breed dogs that look potentially aggressive or are older, they don't always find homes, so they spend more time in rescues and shelters, which results in more behavioral issues, especially fear-based, just because before they were surrendered, they likely went through some serious trauma, and most dogs you get from a rescue or shelter will have some behavioral issues. Some of them can be quite serious, but something to look out for. Not to mention that mutts tend to have more infections because they spend more time at rescues and shelters, which results in higher vet bills because a lot of the conditions turn chronic. So that's something else to consider. In terms of long-term health issues, typically they are worse in purebred dogs because of the shared genetic diseases part. Now I'm going to get into the study. They tested the presence of conditions and diseases in large groups of mutts and large groups of purebred, and as it says in the study, it's really hard to get a perfect population to study because you don't know each dog's case of where you got them from, that kind of thing. So there's no guarantee about where the trauma started or something like that if they had an injury, but these are the statistics. So in purebred dogs, they have a higher rate of aortic stenosis, which is a heart condition, dilated cardiomyopathy, which is also a heart condition, elbow dysplasia, IVDD, which is intervertebral disc disease. It's when the tendons and ligaments between the vertebral discs actually weaken and they have to fuse some of the discs together so that the dog has some mobility. They probably won't get full mobility, which is more common in dogs that are longer, so dash hounds. Really small dogs actually get it more than bigger dogs. Hypoadrenocorticism rheumatism, which is an adrenal condition where they don't have enough energy. Allergic dermatitis is more common in purebred dogs, which is when they get allergies and rashes all over their body, and they can itch and they can bleed, and it does not bode well. Bloat, which is when their stomach expands because it twists and the intestines twist, and the acid in the stomach starts to ferment and can actually kill the dog. It's very dangerous. Especially volvulus is a more intense form where the whole intestine flips over, and sometimes they have to remove sections of it, but once it happens once, there's a very high chance it'll happen again. Cataracts, more common in purebred dogs. Actually, eye conditions in general are typically in herding dogs, poodles, things like that. But know your breed. Certain breeds have more chances of certain issues, so it's a good thing to know that before you go and get a dog. Epilepsy, guaranteed. This is for total. They tested 4 different kinds. One is confirmed epilepsy, probable epilepsy, and suspect epilepsy. This is the complete dogs that they know that have epilepsy is more common in purebred dogs because, again, the neurological conditions. And a portosystemic shunt, which is a heart condition. The only condition they could find that was more common in mixed breed dogs than purebred dogs is the ruptured cranial cruciate ligament, which most of you probably know what that is, even if it sounds like you don't. That's the ligament in the side of the knee that when they tear it, they start to limp. And once they tear one side, there's an 80% chance they'll tear the other side. This is the equivalent of the ACL in humans. And the surgery, I haven't had anybody who I know do it recently, but from what I'm told, the surgery is roughly $6,000, depending on the size of the dog, per knee. So once they tear one, sometimes they operate on the other one just to make sure, but it is a very expensive procedure. And cold laser helps a lot with healing the ligament. If it's a small tear, if it's a full-blown, the tendon's ripped, then that's more, you get the surgery, and then I can help with the kind of like physio after that. A lot of them showed no difference between the conditions. A lot of cancers, hip dysplasia actually had no scientific difference, but hip dysplasia is also very easily passed on, and it's very, very common in dogs. Kaya is a purebred, and I chose her because I worked at a doggy daycare, and 2 of my favorite dogs that came to the daycare were Australian Shepherds, and I wanted a dog that was more active than me. And I know a lot more about behavioral issues in dogs now, so if I were to get any more dogs, which I definitely will at some point, they will probably all be rescues. They will probably all be mixed breed dogs. I'm not set on the appearance, the hair, any of that stuff, but I just want to help the dogs. If you have any questions about purebred versus mixed breed, sorry, blanked out for a second there, feel free to email me. If you're looking into getting a dog, I have an ebook on my resources section on my website. It's called So You Want a Dog, and it's a really good read. It's not that long, but just to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. It doesn't say anything about mixed versus purebred, but it's always good to know what you're getting yourself into. But have a fantastic week, and I will see you next Tuesday.